everyone and welcome back. So for today's video we're going to learn how to solve a linear equation. We have this equation here. We're going to start off by figuring out what a linear equation is. So a linear equation is an equation in which the x has no power. So for instance, if this was 5x squared or 5x cubed, then this would not be a linear equation. How do we solve this equation? Step 1, we need to take 9 from both sides. This would leave us with 5x equals 10. This is the method that's usually taught, but I have my own way of doing this. So when I see an equation like this, in your mind you should just think you want to leave the x by itself and get rid of everything else. So the first step, obviously, as these are two separate terms, would be to get rid of the term in which the number is by itself. So in my mind, I like to think of it as moving this to the other side. So over here in the standard method, it's always take 9 from both sides, but in my method I'm moving the 9 to the other side. However, because you're moving it to the other side of the equation, the sign must change. So rather than plus 9, this would be minus 9 on the other side. Whichever method you've just used, you would be left with 5x equals 10. So like we said, we want to get the x term by itself. Now what we would do is we would divide by 5 on both sides. So we would have this side divided by 5 and this side divided by 5. If you wanted to use my method, then because this is 5 times x, when you move it to the other side, you would divide the other side by 5. And when we do this, we will be left with x equals 10 over 5. Now, obviously we can solve for this. Some questions allow this to be left in fraction form. So, for instance, some harder GCSE questions, they would expect you to leave it in fraction form. So for this one here, because we can cancel it down, we will do that now. So this is x equals, and 10 divided by 5 equals 2. Right, so we have the answer to this linear equation here. Because we now have the answer to the linear equation, we just need to check that the answer is correct. Right, so we can do that by substituting this number here into the original equation. We have 5 times 2 plus 9, and this should equal 19. So 5 times 2 is 10, 10 plus 9 equals 19. Now we've done our first example, we're going to move on to example number 2. So over here, again, this is a linear equation. Remember what we said before, because there's no power, it means it's a linear equation. And again, we are going to solve for x. Looking at this equation, we have 3 different terms. We have the 2x term, the minus 7, and the equals 3 term. Step number 1 would be to add 7 to both sides. But if you choose to use my method, then we would move the 7 to the other side, and obviously because we're moving it to another side, we need to change the sign. So rather than minus 7, this would be add 7. Whichever method you choose to use, the answer would be 2x equals 10. Now step number 2 is to get the x term by itself. To do this, we would need to divide both sides by 2. If you wish to use my method, then obviously you're moving this term to the other side and we need to switch the signs. Because we divide both sides by 2, the 2 will cancel out, and 10 divided by 2 gives us 5. So quite easily we have got our answer, x equals 5. But obviously we just want to check that we have got the answer correct. So to do that, what we're going to do, we're going to substitute it back into the original equation. So when you choose to substitute it back into the equation, what you need to do is, wherever you have your x, you just need to replace it with this value here. So we're just going to do that now. So our equation is 2x minus 7 equals 3. Because we found out what x is, which is 5, we can do 2 times 5 minus 7 equals 3. Right, so first we do 2 times 5, which is 10, minus 7, which equals 3. So again, we've got another question right. So if you stay tuned for the next video in the series, we will go over some harder examples. So thanks for dropping by. I hope you learnt something new and be adjacent. So now I'm going to teach you an easy method to work out the sine, the cosine and the tangent. So we have the phrase SOHCAHTOA. Now SOHCAHTOA is such